Hello, 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 and welcome to this edition of A Spiritual Remedy. My name is Sunshine Day, and what a joy it is to greet you on this day to talk about serenity. Now, let me tell you something. I see a world where clean and sober people, we're people in recovery, we're spiritual people, we're people who want to live a better life, are actually implementing and using some simple spiritual tools and loving support and are living their best life. So I've been gone for a couple of weeks and I got to tell you that I have missed being on the show. I have missed reading your comments and have missed interacting with all of you. So I'm hoping that a bunch of you remembered to come on the show today live so that I might be of loving support to you. So the topic today is serenity. When I think of serenity, I just want to breathe. I just want to take in a nice breath, cleansing breath, and pause and recognize that what the word serenity means is a state of calmness, a state of peacefulness, and a state of being untroubled, a state of calmness, a state of peacefulness. Good morning, Nancy. And a state of being untroubled. Now, what I love is that I am on this quest to live a life of serenity, to live a life of calmness, a life of peacefulness, where the conflicts in my life are not seen as trouble, but are seen as opportunities for growth. So here's what I know. What I know is that conflict is an opportunity for growth. Now, there is an element of danger in conflict, and yet there are two choice points where I can make some decisions that are actually going to affect the outcome. So the first choice is, how do I see conflict? Hey, Patty Justice, what's up? Good God morning to you. So the two areas of conflict, right, is one is, how do I view conflict? Do I view conflict as something to avoid at all costs? Do I view it as um, gotta confront it, gotta face it, that sense of confrontation? I remember growing up, I used to say, "Look, I didn't start it, but I'll finish it," and I meant that in probably the most violent way that I could as a kid. Would fight about it, would engage in that way. So there's this idea of, how do I view conflict? Today, differently than what I did in the past, conflict is an opportunity for growth. And to the degree in which I see it that way, when conflict arises, if I don't act from a place of fear and I act from a place of, this is an opportunity for growth. What is this for me? How can I grow? What is the opportunity here? Or how can I really make a better connection with this person? Or, what is it that I want to have accomplished? When I get, when I have that mindset of conflict is an opportunity for growth, then when conflict happens, my behavior is a result of my thought. So I'm looking for solutions. How does this benefit both of us? How do we get to a win-win? Is there a win-win? What's the highest and best? How to prevent danger? How to be honest in these situations? Now, this all has to do with serenity because serenity is a state of calmness, a state of peacefulness, a state of being untroubled. And so when I don't see conflict as a trouble or as a problem, but rather as an opportunity, then my behavior reflects that. And then as a result of that, the outcome, the consequence, whether it's a reward or a punishment or a reward or something that I don't want, a consequence, that then also reinforces my ideas and beliefs around conflict. But now I did say there was a second spot. So now this second spot where I can make a difference where there's conflict is changing the behavior. Now, I might want to run from conflict, not be in confrontation, and conflict is a problem and it needs a solution. But if I can actually change the behavior, so in other words, without even changing my mind as to seeing conflict as an opportunity, let's say I still see it as, something to avoid, to get out of. When conflict happens and I find myself feeling the need to run or hide or not be in this turmoil, if I could actually just shift and change my behavior just a little bit, if I could instead just ask, well, there has to be a solution. What's the solution? How do we work this out? For instance, in a family where there's only one car and two people want to use the car, one wants to go uptown, one wants to go downtown. Um, Instead of seeing it as something that we have to fight about, well, there has to be a solution. How can we work this out? And begin to actually look and behave in ways that are about working it out. And behavior, that behavior right there brings about some sense of serenity. Now, it may not bring like total serenity, but it brings about some sense of serenity because we're looking for the solution. We're looking for the work this out. The behavior has changed. And as a result of the behavior change, then the outcome or the consequence can be a consequence and or reward, something favorable or something unfavorable that then continues to reinforce our ideas, thoughts, and beliefs of conflict. So here's a technique that I think is important on a day-to-day basis when we're talking about serenity. Oh, by the way, on October the 6th, I'm doing a class. It is a 4-week course. It's called Living the Serenity Prayer. And I'm going to invite you to get a hold of 4 of your closest friends and do this. It's going to be for 4 weeks. It's an hour and a half long, and it's Living the Serenity Prayer. Because here's a preview of what I'm talking about. Hi, Nancy Fagan. I hope you're doing well. And Hamid, I hope you're doing well as well. So here's the thing about serenity. The serenity prayer. A lot of people say the serenity prayer. They recite it. They know it by heart. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Now, it is written by someone called Anonymous, and I say that jokingly. But it is said that we don't know who the author of the Serenity Prayer is. However, it doesn't really matter. It is a prayer that is used not only in 12-step recovery, but it is used throughout the entire world when people come into conflict. When people come into conflict, the idea is to pause and breathe. And what if you could actually live the serenity prayer instead of just reciting it? What if it could actually be, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. So, in this moment, what are those things I cannot change? In this moment, what is higher power? What is God? Why even say this? You know, we already know that serenity is a state of calmness and a state of peacefulness and a state of being untroubled. Imagine living an untroubled life. I believe it's possible. I believe that on a day-to-day basis that when I have a world perspective of everything has a solution and that there are answers to everything, especially nonviolent answers, especially answers that come in a state of consciousness and a state of calmness and a state of peacefulness. I believe that living an untroubled life is possible. Do you? I mean, what would an untroubled life look like for you? Let me see in the comments what you're talking about. What would an untroubled life be like for you? What do you think your mornings would look like, your afternoons, your evenings? What do you think your life with a significant other would be like if you lived an untroubled life? I think a lot of times people think that it would be boring. I think it would be actually exhilarating, you know, that everything is coming together for my good, where with ease and with grace, things just kind of unfold beautifully. I tend to think of God as Sade in her song "Smooth Operator." I like to think that God is a smooth operator, and that when things are going in a flow, that it is God's will. And when I say God, I'm talking about higher power. I'm talking about life. That it is in the essence of life. Thank you, Diane. Diane says, peace that surpasses my understanding, right? Like living an untroubled life is having that peace that, like, I don't understand why it's like this, and I don't need to understand why. That there's just this peace that surpasses understanding. Patty Justice says, accepting where other people are. Yeah, living an untroubled life means that um, hey, you are where you are, I am where I am. Ah, man, there's this let me see if I can find it really quickly. There's this thing that I like a lot, and it comes from, here it is. It's by Fritz Perl, and it speaks to this, that what you speak of, Patty. And then Nancy says blissful, fulfilling, peaceful, giving, infectious, and closer to God. That is exactly as well what that peaceful, untroubled life looks like, right? And to go back to Patty, I want to share this quote by Fritz Perl. I do my thing and you do your thing. I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, and you are not in this world to live up to mine. You are you, and I am I. And if by chance we find each other, it's beautiful. If not, it can't be helped. But it is that idea of, I do my thing, you do your thing, accepting that you're doing your thing for your highest and best, and accepting where other people are. This is where they are. It's not a bad thing or a good thing. They're doing their thing. I'm doing my thing, right? I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, and you're not in this world to live up to mine. And it ties in so beautifully with the last topic that we talked about around forgiveness, right? Because I make up in my mind, Patty, who you need to be in my life to make my life convenient. But guess what? When I'm going by Fritz Perl, I'm doing my thing and you're doing your thing, and you're not in this world to live up to my expectations. So my expectations are these things that I make up. And then when you're not living up to them, I love you, Denise, right? It says, it just is. It just is. This is what is. This is the reality of life. And to the degree in which I can accept what is right before me, who you are, how you express, I may not like it, but so what? Living an untroubled life, living a life of serenity, right? Having that state of being untroubled means, it doesn't mean that I don't care about you or that I don't love you or that I am not concerned with the things that happen in, through, and as your life. But what it means is that I have a different perspective, a different worldview, and that my interest is living a life of serenity. So if you're interested in living a life of serenity, I want to invite you, no matter where you are in your recovery phase, no matter where you are on your phase of growth and development, no matter how much practice you've had, this course, this 4-week course, Living the Serenity Prayer, will open your eyes to a deeper understanding of God as you understand God, or life as you understand life, because that word God, right in the beginning of the Serenity Prayer, is interchangeable, for your own growth and perspective. It is. And to actually stop reciting that serenity prayer and start living from this place of serenity, it's going to absolutely blow your mind and you will grow exponentially. What I want you to do is, in order to register, starts October the 6th, is go to VIDASLC, Vida Spiritual Learning Center.org, VidaSLC.org to sign up. Actually, there's a bonus. So if you bring in 4 more people, you actually get in for way less as a group, but you can do it individually. I'm going to be teaching it. It's going to be online on Zoom, and it's going to be 4 of the best weeks you've ever had, I promise you. So back to serenity. Thank you, Denise. Denise says it means I need to mind my own business. And when Denise says mind my own business, it doesn't necessarily mean like I need to stay on my side of the street, but it actually means I need to stay on my side of the street. It means I get to be alert and attentive to what is mine to do, my business. What is yours to do. What is mine to do. I love that Patty Justice says, I'm only responsible for me. I am only responsible for me. Yes. And that's the thing, is that, especially in when we're talking binary, and I understand that there are many ways to express. However, when we are speaking binary male female, many females in the US and throughout the world are taught that to be female is actually second class, and that we're taught to be caregivers, and that we need to take care of and mother and nurture. Now, as human beings, we both have the X and Y chromosomes, so we have both expression of feminine and masculine and that range. However, we are socialized as females to become women and to actually be the nurturers and to be involved in everybody else's stuff. In other words, to be in somebody else's Kool-Aid, in their cha-cha, and you know what I'm talking about. However, when we evolve emotionally and spiritually, what we get an opportunity to do is simply be our true and divine selves. We get an opportunity to mature emotionally and spiritually. And we recognize that I am only responsible for me. And in that responsibility, I educate, I teach people how to treat me. And by teaching people how to treat me, if I am responsible for youngins, right? The youngins, as they are around me and witness and watch me, because children learn by watching and listening to what is said. So when I am true to myself, when I am responsible for myself, when I am making decisions, sound decisions, emotionally, financially, spiritually, physically, mentally, when I am making sound decisions for myself, children learn to do the same. Too many times, and I know I might be like on a soapbox right now, we're taught to be codependent instead of interdependent. So interdependent is different than independent, and it's way different than codependent. Interdependent recognizes that we are all each other's keepers in the sense, but my primary purpose is to care for self and to have that be an example for our youngins, for those folks around us, for those young people around us, that they too can learn to make responsible decisions on what to eat, making good food choices for themselves, taking care of their mental health, their financial health, their emotional health, their spiritual health. But because they learn by watching, if we're not living it ourselves, they are seeing what we do and not doing what we say, because what we say is cheap. People learn how to treat us by how we treat ourselves. And so, in living a life of serenity, this, here I go, tying it back in, an untroubled life is, is actually choosing serenity. Breathe right there. Can I choose serenity? Can I choose a state of calmness? Thank you, Denise, without feeling guilt or shame based on our former socializations. Can I choose that? And that's what my show is about. A spiritual remedy is really about teaching some spiritual tools, providing some loving support for our transformation, because as I grow, we all grow. As you grow, we all grow. As we expand in our, there's no personal good. That's what interdependence really means. Is that when one comes up, we all come up, because what we get to see is that there's better living. Huh, Nancy? To thine own self be true. Back to that it sounds so selfish, but it is actually the way to be. The only one that I can care for fully is me. And as I care for me fully, then I am teaching others how to care for themselves fully. And there doesn't end up being a lot of conflict there. Only some readjustment, some realignment. And so when I can begin to see conflict as an opportunity for growth, when I can begin to see that conflict doesn't mean trouble, it just means we have this opportunity to do something different. We have this opportunity to live life on life's terms. That this comes up, oh, let me deal and work with this, so that this, oh, this comes up, oh, this comes up, right? And what it needs in order to live a life of serenity, a life of calmness, a life of peace, an untroubled life, what it means is to get healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. And that if you're experiencing some wholeness in one of those areas, then what it took to get full or to get healthy in that area is exactly what it takes to get healthy in the other areas of life. And that really, the book Alcoholics Anonymous states that when we straighten out spiritually, that everything else falls into place. So what does that mean to get straightened out or to be expanded spiritually? It means to be engaged in some daily practices that actually support your living your best life. And so one of the daily practices that we've been doing and that we haven't been doing in the last couple of weeks as I've been in Europe has been a gratitude practice. And so I'd like to begin that gratitude practice again, to where I'm inviting you to send me your gratitude list, even if it's one or two things on that gratitude list. If you want to see your life change, go ahead and text me your gratitude list at 562-928-6460. Again, that number is 562-928-6460. The other thing that I want to encourage you to do is to go ahead and sign up for my class that starts October the 6th, Living the Serenity Prayer. That's going to be on my website, vidaslc.org. And there you'll be able to see the exact date and time. If I have an overwhelming number of people, I will do one in person in the Long Beach area, which is Southern California. So I'm also open to that. If you'd like me to actually do a 4-week course for a group that you put together, that would be awesome. Because living the Serenity Prayer is bound to change your life for the better. So that's it for today. Know that you are loved and cared for. I'm here to provide the spiritual tools and the loving support for your personal transformation. Until next week, know that you're loved. Bye for now.